corrections. I've been asked to put this film together just to explain a little bit about our journey with Namabunda Farm and Bundjalung Tribal Society up here in Lismore. So Namabunda Farm is an Aboriginal-owned organisation which sits under the local Aboriginal Lands Council here. And they have a piece of property out in Alstonville, which is 15 to 20 minutes out of Lismore. And I first came across this journey because I'd been working with a young Aboriginal man in corrections who had done a few programs with us in corrections, but he was looking for a pathway beyond that and to reintegrate into the community and find some culture and some pro-social pathways into becoming a man and taking some responsibility. So I ended up finding Namabunda Farm, which was attached to Bundjalung Tribal Society, and I put him in the car and we went out there. And when I went out there, they took us for a bit of a tour of the joint, and it was just really welcoming. There was no judgment. They didn't care about the corrections tag or any of his history. And by the end of doing the tour, they actually asked him if he'd like to volunteer on the farm, and his eyes lit up. They said, "Have you ever had a job before? We might be able to pay you a little bit." And from there, they helped him with his tax file number. They helped him with some extra training, and just bringing him into the farm once a week to volunteer and connect with the land. Now, after we did this, it was a bit of proof of concept. I went back to the farm and I engaged with Bundjalung Tribal Society. And I asked, "What is there anything else that you can do for men? Do you do any programs or anything like that?" And they said they had funding, but they were struggling to attract the community and men over to their location because it was a bit out of town. And from there, I was like, this is such an asset just outside that's not being tapped into. How can we empower this organization to help us make an impact in the community? And this was very much one of my focuses coming to Lismore to see how I can help close the gap as an individual staff member. What can I do instead of waiting for my organization or leaders around me to act? So yeah, that's how this all sort of started. About 6 months later, I received a phone call from a training organization saying, "Hey, we've worked with corrections down in Armidale. We want to start working with you up in Lismore. We can bring you some funding to run a machine operation program with excavators, skid steers, and things like that. Is that something you'd be interested in?" And I'm thinking, I've got this whiz bang farm. They want to do stuff with men. I've got this funding that's coming to us just looking for men, and I have the men. So how can we sort of make something happen from here? So that's how it began. We just brought all the stakeholders together. Every organization was getting something out of this. They were making an impact into the community, and it was just aligning with all their values. So we shared the load amongst each other. The training company got the grant, the funding, the trainers. They assisted with paying bills for machinery and stuff like that. The farm provided the location and some wraparound mentoring for Aboriginal clients, which was awesome. They had housing specialists there and a few other staff members just hidden in the background that would pull guys aside and support them. And corrections, we had the guys that were low on confidence but high on skills. And that gets them into trouble because they're not using their skills. So this was just a nice match. Anyways, I've got a little presentation here that I did want to share. So I'll just quickly pop that on and show you a bit about the cultural center they're trying to build at the farm and how we've tied into this to run our programs to help them get ready for this build. So it's giving them a lot of value for having these programs, and they're seeing their nephews and nieces out on country building and making an impact and contributing to this cultural center for country. So it's quite a beautiful collaboration, really. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So this is the Bundjalung Tribal Society Cultural Centre they're planning to build. It's about $2.5 million grant that they've received, and the DA, or from development application to grant writing to architects to construction, is going to be about 60 to 70% done by Aboriginal people. So it's one of a kind, actually, in its country to have such a high representation. And basically, they came to me and said, we would like to employ some guys coming out of correction from the country to help them transition out of the system. Started running these machinery programs in the lead up to the construction so that we can start identifying talent and putting some confidence and self-belief in some of these fellas, just slowly preparing them in a non-judgmental way and connecting them to country before we put shovel to the ground. So this is all a big preparation pathway for the crown and the jewel, which is having mob building the cultural centre um, and leaving a legacy. So the farm is a 70-acre property. It's in northern New South Wales. They're hoping to put a cultural centre on the property, a coffee plantation that employs staff, a fibre forest with native Bundjalung fruits and fibres people can pick and get educated on and weave and do all sorts of other stuff. There's a nursery there with ancient seeds and a seed bank. Um, and they're also hoping to put transitional housing at some point. So there's a lot of projects in the pipeline for the future. And I'm just seeing for corrections and for community such an amazing opportunity to tap into if we can get this right and get in early. So the partnership with the farm and our programs has now blossomed in 18 months. Community corrections and LDO Group are our training partner, and Namabunda Farm, which is Bundjalung Tribal Society, all share the load with this. We help with transport, we help with feeding the participants, getting support letters for the funding. Everything's a real shared load, and everyone gets a benefit from this. So far, we've run about 6 programs. We've had 5 machine op programs, so excavators, tractors, skid steers, and rollers. And we've also had a chainsaw and chemical handling course. Um, all the work done with this training is done on the farm to improve roads, to put pads down for sheds, to clear the bush for coffee plantations. And we're hoping in the future we can also get involved with the nursery and the fibre forest with rangers or landscapers or conservation or something. So there's a lot of opportunities to expand this in the future. But at the moment, it's just let's try a proof of concept and build from there. So that's what we've been doing for the last 18 months. We're hoping to also do trier trades out there when the cultural centre is being built, so people can get a bit of a taste of bricklaying and electrical and painting and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So yeah, we've had 60 participants go through these 6 courses. We try to keep the groups pretty small, so about 10 people. There is written and numeracy components to the training, but this is done in a very supportive matter. Supportive way. So we do this in the shed on the farm, and we've got usually someone from corrections there, someone from the training organisation, and someone from Bundjalung Tribal Society, just supporting the students, getting them lunch, helping them with their bookwork, get IDs, enrolments, all that kind of stuff, just to get them across the line. An interesting thing about connecting guys to the farm, as I mentioned, there's housing and other supports through Bundjalung Tribal Society. They've done certain things like helping guys get their driver's licenses once they've started volunteering there and got some tickets, and they keep coming back and helping give back to the farm. The farm will turn give back to them. So yeah, we've had guys get driver's licenses. The farm's bought people their first cars, put them through additional training and tickets, and invited these guys back to lead events, and sort of really build up their self-esteem and their impact in their own communities. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And yeah, we've been talking to Jake from Real Futures, and he sort of has wanted to replicate this idea, and he's been very respectful with it, trying not to steal intellectual property or anything like that. However, I just wanted to say we want this to go out statewide. If anyone can use this model to help their communities, to help create pathways for men and women to get them into the workforce, to get them out of their social housing situations and start empowering them to be members of our community and be proud of it. that's very much what we want to see. And I do see this as integral to closing the gap. How we can all work together and use our resources together to help community. So I wish you luck with your journey on this. I've got a little video here, just with some of the machinery and the work we have been doing. So we'll get skid steers out there, we'll clear bush, put coffee plantations in. Uncle Phil there trains a couple of the fellas on the machines. That's the excavator out there. We pair with Tersa and Verdo and other job agencies, and we pull on their resources for transport and PPE. And then, yeah, we invite employers out and council and other recruiters to talk to the fellas afterwards. So, yeah, we're very lucky to have this and hope to see more of it in the future. So, yeah, good luck with everything. Did try to keep this as short as possible. And yeah, hopefully it provides a bit of inspiration for you guys. Thank you and Boogle Bear. And yeah, best of luck in the future.